Kia ora koutou. Am I on the screen there? Kia ora koutou, no mai, haere mai, and welcome to Frogs on Friday, our employment and market update. So today we've got some big news in Mahi Media. We will go through our Hot Jobs Friday as usual, and I'm joined by Julia Yen to run through some of the top recruitment trends across 2022, and it's been a bit of a wild year already. And as always, we will go to the polls and see what's happening in our Twitter polls. So if we start off and go through Mahi Media. Okay, so as I promised, some big news. So it was definitely this week that the big news was all about the passing of fair pay agreements legislation. And it's been described as one of the biggest changes to New Zealand industrial relations law in decades. So what's that all about and what's the big deal? So the quick version is that it's a new model of pay negotiation that will set minimum standards across either different industries, so for example aged care or hospitality, or it could be across occupation types, so chefs or cleaners. So you could have set conditions, including things like minimum wage rates, penalty rates, leave entitlements, training, learning and development that cover the whole industry or occupation. Now, this definitely sounds like good news for employees, and especially those working in industries where they typically have low wages or poor working conditions. But I guess with big change comes big controversy as well, and especially in the business community, with a lot thinking that perhaps this is going to be too costly and complicated to actually implement. And there's an argument over whether the legislation actually gives Kiwis a fair go, or if it's old-fashioned socialism. So I'll step away and leave the political debates up to you, but you can have your say. I'd love to hear your comments in the chat or through this week's poll as well. But before we get to that, let's go through to Hot Jobs Friday, see what's up this week. Okay, so first up, we have a role based in Wellington. So this is for an executive assistant working within the government sector. And ideally, they're looking for someone who has experience already with working within that space in policy. If you're interested in this role, get in touch with Chitra in our Wellington office. Okay, and this one, it's actually Julia Yen who's my guest for today. So I'll pass over to Julia to tell us about the change in Workforce Manager.
Apologies there. I accidentally muted myself, but thank you so much, Shannon.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I haven't had my coffee, so bear with me. So to talk a little bit about this change in workforce manager role, it's an amazing role on a 12-month fixed-term contract in a location in Ellerslie. So what my client is looking for, as you would see in the job ad, is someone who's had an HR or ER background. You may have come from like a people and capability, someone who's had an understanding of working very short-term contracts along project focus roles. So it is sitting in the health sector, and the experience my client is looking for is around that mid to senior exposure. The reason being this is a 12 months fixed term is because they are working on an ongoing project, which is obviously provided by the government. So there is potential for this role to extend. For you to come into this role, you're about to support the team that's on the ground and be that go-to person across anything to do with the very basics of well-being. You know, what can you do to support them to make sure they're performing to their best, and also be able to, you know, be that go-to person when it comes to anything like, is there anything else I can do better? And put your very much HR face into this business. Like I said from the start, it is a 12 months fixed term with an attractive salary with up to that 120K mark. So if it is something for you, please reach out. You can give me an email or call, and I'll love to have a chat with you.
Excellent. And our last one, so another role based in Wellington. For this one here, it's a lead finance business partner. And they're looking for someone who has significant experience, so financial accounting experience of around 4 to 6 years. And for this one, you'll be looking at both modelling, reviews, as well as strategy implementation, as well as day-to-day duties for overall finance management. For this one, get in touch with either Sophia or Chitra from our Wellington office.
Hello, I'm Simi and I'm a 360 recruiter at Frog Recruitment. Currently, I'm looking for a payroll and support administrator. This is to cover maternity leave until August 2023. We are looking for someone who has got experience in payroll and also have got some exposure working with HRIS system and Datacom. The office is located in Mount Wellington, and there's a free car park for you. If you're keen to know more about the role and is interested in applying for it, please contact me on 093620789, or you can also reach out to me by emailing me on simi@frogrecruitment.co.nz. Looking forward to receive your applications or hear from you. Bye for now.
So, welcome back, Julia. So, you're here to tell us about some of the amazingly crazy trends that we've had across recruitment. It's been, as I said, it's been a bit of a wild year, as the past few years have been a bit wild. So, what's been happening in this space?
So what I've been seeing so far, especially pre-pandemic until now, is best of the both worlds, especially in that hybrid working scenario. So an example is that, you know, there's a lot of ongoing change and flow of flexible working practices, and that comes with that more remote options rather than forced to align with the tradition of being present in the office. So that flexibility of having 1 to 2 days working from home, or, you know, split that between your office hours, or it can be looking at, you know, starting a bit earlier, finishing earlier, just because obviously we all have our own personal lives. And I have found that this has shifted firmly in the direction of understanding the importance of well-being, mental health, and also performance level as well. So by providing and having that hybrid work model continues to be very eye-catching in job ads as well. And that's something that I consistently get asked when I'm engaging with my candidates. And it does attract a broader range of talents, especially in this very competitive marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not doing something for flexible working, you're going to be left behind. We've talked a lot about how that balance of power has shifted, and it's about time employees or job seekers can go after what's important to them, and that's definitely proven that focus on well-being and how your work fits in with the rest of your life is really important.
Exactly. And I 100% agree with that. It's just, having that option there, and you will find that conversation will flow a lot different, and that you do put yourself ahead of the game when you actually, have that hybrid working. It's not is that there. It's more like it is within that salary package and that whole role itself as well.
Yeah. What advice do you have for job seekers if they're in the process of interviewing for a role and considering different options? How should they get their preferences or what's important to them across to potential employers?
I guess from there, whether you're going directly to the company themselves or you're working through an agency, is transparency and having that open communication. From the start, it's always about, defining what is it that you're looking for, what has worked for you in the past, and what is it that has been offered to you in your current role that you want to see in your next role. This way, if coming from myself, if I was to profile you and pitch you to our client, those are the key things that we make very transparent from the start. And having that transparency from the get-go, it also saves you a lot of time where, you don't go further down the track and then you find out that, okay, no, the client actually isn't offering that. So it's just that communication and just being very honest with us as to what are you looking for in your next role.
Excellent. What are some other trends this year?
I have to say it's along with employee experience. So, the top 3 things I have been always asked when I'm talking to my candidates, as always, is, what is the onboarding process? What is my professional growth within the company? How is my support team like? Where do I go to if I need X, Y, and Z? So it's a lot about from the start of interviewing through to meeting with the client. It's that time frame, especially when when the candidates have to wait a week, 2 weeks just to get a first interview. This allows them to sort of hone in on, okay, why is it taking so long for me to get a response? And then they start obviously, taking on other roles. And this is where, we may miss out on that opportunity for them as well. And I do find that, workplaces need to reflect employees' expectations of career paths and opportunities to advance their skills further. So having those in place, or something that's accompanied with a job description, really does help, because a lot of my candidates especially like to have it visually, actually read it themselves and be able to mirror match that with what they currently have in place.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, definitely that speed is key. It's always important, but I think even more so in such a competitive market for that rare and valuable talent. Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your insight there, Julia, and look forward to having you back on again. Let's go have a look at the polls. Okay, so we asked, are you considering moving overseas to work in 2023? I'm actually quite surprised with this and a little bit delighted. So I was a little bit scared that the yes I am was going to take away the poll there and be the front runner. So it's pretty even match between yes or no, I'm happy in New Zealand, and a few sitting on the fence. So some good news there that not everybody's leaping across the ditch or going further ashore straight away. So keep those talented Kiwis in New Zealand. All right, so I promised for this week, keeping on the trend of the fair pay agreements, let's have a look at this one. So fair pay agreements, is a fair go or no go? So do you think it's going to be a good thing or not with fair pay agreements coming into play in New Zealand? So yeah, definitely interested to see how the polls tip out on this one. And as always, please feel free to put your comments in through the chat as well. that is us for today. Look forward to seeing you again here next week, Friday at 12:30. See you then. Ngā mihi nui.